Hi Virgo, welcome to your June reading. Happy June 1st. It is a contemplative month for you and one that can find you being quite hard on yourself. So, before we go any further, just take a deep breath and remember that regardless of what you're going through at the moment, everyone makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect. And finding fault in yourself is one thing. Okay. But abusing yourself is quite another. So, yeah, the energy is strong. So let's see what we got here. The Tower, the Queen of Swords, the Five of Pentacles. So if you've had some sort of a row or run-in with an air sign, especially someone who's quite sharp, this can very easily be the cause of great collapse, social, financial. But more than that, the collapse of an ideal that you thought was assured. The collapse of a dream that you thought nobody could take from you. Now, it doesn't have to be a romantic connection. It doesn't even have to be a friendly connection. It can be a work connection. It can be purely business. Regardless of how this Tower and Queen of Swords show up, the result is you finding extreme fault within the self and taking much of what this Queen of Swords is saying to heart, which can greatly damage your self-image. And we know that the self-image is what is ultimately responsible. It's driving you guys crazy, the way I keep moving these cards around. I know. It's okay. I'm only doing it because I want you to have a better perspective. And that's what we're going to end up talking a lot about today, is perspective. Because although you may be convinced by the words of the Queen of Swords that there is something lacking, that you have done something irrevocably terrible, that does not mean that you are any worse off than any other human alive. Okay, you made a mistake. This is the thing about aiming for something impossible like perfection. When you actually do make a mistake and your humanity catches up with you, it's like you don't know what to do with it except beat the shit out of yourself. You could use this as a learning opportunity to experience how it feels to be kind to yourself, even when you've done something wrong. Even when you may feel that you've done something wrong, it takes you a while to come to a place of accountability. It takes you a while to understand. I don't know where all this lint is coming from. It just started happening right now. It's like everything that can happen to drive you guys crazy aesthetically right now is going to happen. This month is quite irritating for you. I will say that. And it's because it's this Gemini energy, and we'll get into that more in a second. But let's go back to what I was saying. You can see this as an opportunity to practice what it feels like to not be perfect, to practice what it feels like to allow yourself to be human. But first comes the accountability. So often in the pursuit of perfection, one of the things that is lost is that sense of accountability for our actions, because the pursuit of perfection is quite gluttonous. Though you will notice, as Virgos are obsessed with perfection, they're often also gluttonous, because there is a certain gluttony to seeking that perfection. There's an indulgence to it that is too sweet for the teeth, if you will. It is the pursuit of something so indulgent and fantastical is near impossible. And the lengths you have to go to lie to yourself, to even pursue something so nonsensical, usually robs you of your ability to see your part in things. And when you can no longer see your part in things, any self-awareness you have becomes a moot point, becomes actually more of a weapon you use against yourself than anything else, or certainly not anything helpful for anybody else. Because if you remove yourself, right, if you extricate yourself from whatever is happening around you, you don't see your part in things. If there is no accountability on your end, then whatever you're looking at, whether you are whip smart, intelligent or not, you won't be processing it properly because you've taken a key element out of the equation. June is that month where people call you out on this behavior. You can't remove yourself from the equation. And this first blow right at the beginning of the month that you receive from this Queen of Swords energy, this is it's a shot across the bow. It's your first warning shot of what's coming. You can let this warning shot destroy your self-image, or you can push back against it with the most human of rationales, which is, yeah, I made a mistake. So what? Everybody makes mistakes. You only leave yourself open for true wounding, or let's say true loss, is when you can't see your part. When everything is someone else's fault. When the only thing that comes out of you are excuses and justifications. Remember that I said this, because somewhere in June you will try to slip any way you can out of something that is squarely your fault, your responsibility, however you want to look at it. And when you start to wriggle around looking for a way out, just remember that I said this, because June doesn't let you do that. As you may have often noticed, Gemini don't let you do it. I think this is ultimately the major issue between Gemini and Virgo. When Virgo no longer feels like their words and their actions need to match, and they go and do whatever they want, Gemini are the only one that calls them out on it and can keep them called out on it, can hold them to task. Virgo can talk their way out of it with everybody else, charm their way out of it, guilt their way out of it, victim their way out of it. You'll get out of it because you're Mercury, because your mind just moves faster than everybody else's. So they don't have a chance. They really don't. If you don't feel like something is your fault, they'll never be able to make it your fault, that's for sure. You're just faster, therefore smarter, right? Your planet is the one that is the fastest in the universe. But see, Gemini season is the first mercurial planet. It is the raw nerve that later is refined and made into something palatable, something you can consume. What we have is the raw, roaring void. And from where we sit, your lightning fast intelligence is slow. We see the punches way before you ever think to throw them or connect. And this season is the same. It holds you to task. When you decide that you've had enough and you want to go into hyper smart mode and just get out of whatever it is that's bothering you, everyone around you will start acting like a Gemini, and they're not going to let it go. People have questions. And the more you deny things, the more questions will pile up. If you really want these things to go away, if you really want to start over, if you really want to be done with something and move forward, accept your tower moments. Realize that perfection is not possible, nor is it something to be sought. A life Seeking perfection is a life in which you isolate and alienate everybody around you, because guess what? Nobody's going to be able to live up to it. And every time you try to live up to it within yourself, it makes you unbearable for other people to be around, because everybody's fucking human and everybody's fucking up all the time. And it's just a normal part of life. So if one person decides that they're just not going to be okay with that, you know, and try to hold people to a completely unbelievable standard, yeah, resentment builds. People will not like that person, right? Because you're trying to implement something inhuman. Now, that's not the word often used for perfection, but it fits quite nicely. It's inhuman. It has nothing to do with us as a species. Not emotionally, not physically, not societally. We're not perfect. But the vanity that must exist within a person to think that perfection is an attainable goal, there is the real issue. The pursuit of perfection is just indicative of something much deeper. I'm sorry to every Virgo who's dealt with me personally, who just heard me say the word indicative and just, you know, cringed. I apologize. I know. It's like a Pavlovian, you know, response at this point. You're probably looking for, you know, you're probably looking for a DVD copy of Dead Man right now to calm me down because I said indicative. And on top of this, right? On top of your self-image and the vanity that may drive that self-image, and now the self-image being bruised really brings that vanity out as the liability that it can be. Right then, this all kind of hits you on the 3rd, as Mercury goes direct. It all kind of coalesces and makes sense. Oh shit, what have I done? On the 3rd, you realize that there are certainly things that are your fault, right? But right then, the very next day, Saturn goes retrograde. And as soon as Saturn goes retrograde, you are haunted by feelings of lack. That 5 of Pentacles is just wrapping itself around you. It doesn't want to let you go. Inadequacy. But see, to me, this doesn't look sad. This looks like a learning opportunity. Virgo, there's nothing more liberating than hitting bottom. 5 of Pentacles, okay, you hit bottom. Whatever it was, it didn't work out. Yes, you had a part in it. Yes, they had a part in it. Whatever your parts were in it, learn from that. Don't play that part again. And as soon as you decide that you're not going to play that part again, and as soon as you decide that what happened to you is actually a learning experience, you're looking at things as an intellectual, and the 5 of Pentacles doesn't even exist anymore, because now it's become an invaluable learning experience. Excuse me, that's my son laughing in the background. And you can take that experience and you can parlay it into something really wonderful for yourself. But you cannot get stuck in these first 3 cards and think all month long that all is lost and nothing is going to be okay and I messed up. And no, it's just not true. Everything is going to be okay. And you probably did mess up and it's still fine. This is a month where, to me, that top row, you know what that looks like? That looks like someone being taught the hard way how to unconditionally love themselves. I don't see anything wrong with that. You got to learn the hard way because you don't fucking learn any other way. For as smart as you guys are, and this is, I think, the thing that really, if we're being that we're both ruled by Mercury, this is the thing that really the differentiates us. This is the deep distinction between Gemini and Virgo. Is that you're fucking stubborn. You don't want to learn. It's like you know what you know, and I don't know when you learned it, but you just decided one day, I don't want to learn anything else. I'm going to know a lot. I'm going to read a lot, but I don't want to learn anything else. You know a lot after a certain age, but you don't want to learn anymore. Learning is when something you know changes your behavior fundamentally. That's learning. But it's like after a certain age, you guys decide, yeah, I want to know a lot of shit, but I don't want to learn anything anymore. And you get stuck. And to a Gemini, it's death. It doesn't matter what age we are. Being stuck is for the birds. And you get a chance here to get unstuck. But you know what that unstuck requires? Unconditional love of self. See, if you're not seeking perfection, you don't even know what this kind of self-hate can be like. You can only talk about it in theory. I have a Virgo moon, so I have a pretty keen understanding of what this kind of self-hate can do to a person. But if you're a Virgo sun, Virgo rising, I'm still just throwing theory at you. I have no idea how bad this can get, because I don't think I've ever seriously tried to pursue perfection, but I can only imagine how badly you get bumped and bruised and scraped up if you try. Because this world is created from chaos. To try and strive for perfection in such chaos is so presumptuous and so egotistical and so admirable and so frightening all at the same time. And you're gonna hate this, and it makes you pity the person a little bit. You know, there's a piteous element to this, because, oh God, what are you doing? It doesn't work this way. You know that. So, one of the things that will help is being in a surrounding. The star surrounding is something that you know really heals you. You know, something where when you're there, whether it's nature or the city or it's a sibling or best friend's house or whatever it is, you need to go to your space where you can recharge and have some power. And also, this Judgment card, there's this strange truth being told, Virgo, where so many of the dynamics that have existed between you and people for a really long time just don't seem to work anymore. It's like either your charm's not working, or the tactic's not working, or the manipulation's not working, or the putting somebody off or faking it, whatever it is that you've been doing. It just seems to fall apart in June. And if it's not sincere, if it's not genuine, people just see right through it. And they see through it to a point where it can be, you know, the judgment. It can be the horn of truth blown at you so hard that your clothes fall off and you're exposed and humiliated before the world. It's very deep. So wherever you know that you've been manipulative, or you've been using someone or stringing somebody along, or whatever you've been doing, don't run from it. Face it. Because either way, that Judgment card is there. Better to face it and deal with it than never let it get to that point. But how do I do that? Use your brain. Communicate. Now here's the other thing. You see that Five of Swords? There is a part of you, because Mars is in Aries, because Venus is in Aries, there is a part of you, and Venus Venus moves into Taurus, so even more so, there's this deep sense within you that if you make the effort, things will change. And that's always a very difficult thing to explain to a Virgo when you don't want them around. Because you guys know that you're indispensable and that you're very helpful and that you're wonderful. And you do kind of lean into that role because you know that it makes you, you know, you're not expendable in your friendships, in your relationship. So because that's what you cultivate and that's what you pride yourselves on, it can be really hard for you to understand that even if you make a lot of effort, or if you continue to make an effort to make amends, whatever your personal situation is, it can be really hurtful to realize and find out or be told that the effort doesn't mean anything. The effort is not necessary. The person, the thing, the job, whatever it is, they're not interested. Right? Now, this can really mess you up in the head because it kind of clashes with your entire paradigm, with your entire worldview, right? Yeah, if the reason it messes with your worldview is because in your world, effort equals success, effort equals accomplishment, effort is your love language, doing for others is your love language, it's how you show love, affection, all of that. So to be confronted with a situation that at first you thought was manageable or somehow salvageable, and then you realize that no amount of effort you make is going to change what is going on or what has happened, that can really mess with how you see the world. Because if that's not how the world works, then how the fuck does the world work? Right? So, then let's look at this Four of Wands and this Five of Cups. Some recently ended something or other, relationship, friendship, whatever it was to you. It was very celebratory. It was very solid. You're in deep grief for the loss of that, and you don't really have much room for anything else right now. And if you haven't had that loss yet, you may be obsessively ruminating about a loss, especially a romantic one from the past. One of the things that will help is putting your mind to work on something, maybe taking up a new project, maybe a personal project. Another thing that can help is pampering yourself physically. But I think the job aspect is really central to your security as a person. It's important for you to maintain the reputation that you have and, have it help you get a good situation, whatever it ends up being. Don't ruin that good reputation by taking on things that just don't fit you. You have to be really honest about what you want to take on, even if it seems wrong to other people or if it seems too demanding. That's okay. You know what you're bringing to the table and what you're able to do for people and what your services provide. So you just have to, it's about, overall, it's about saving money. It's about not being embarrassed because of shared resources. It's about keeping yourself in a state where you're not constantly thinking about either your money worries or how this particular relationship ended. If you don't let go of the past, you just have no room to grow. One of the things I've realized is that I need to go home and repot all my plants. I have no idea why I haven't done that yet. And these poor plants have just been hanging on in these tiny little things. It's terrible. It's terrible. If you open up and you do so with great, let's say, self-esteem, high sense of self, you will be able to let go of the things that obviously were not meant to stay in your life. And whether those things were meant to stay in your life or you were meant to stay in theirs remains to be seen. What's important right now is that you learn not to judge yourself for things falling apart, not to hate yourself, not to berate yourself, not to abuse yourself and wind yourself up. Now the name of the game is using the tower, using the sword, using the truth to make some space for yourself. Carve out a little bit of space where you can look around with your head held high and say, yeah, I made a couple of mistakes, but that's okay. That's important. And when it happens, it will feel a lot more profound than the way I'm saying it right now with the washing machine and the dishwasher running in the background. All right? Good? Good. And we'll talk more about the Aquarius and the Aries in the extended. Love you.